excited for to go to La Costa this week. I feel like our team is playing pretty good right now. We've got a young squad that played for us at conference and played for us at regionals. And those were both very good outings for us, obviously winning Big 12s and then finishing second at regionals with having a chance to win there at the very end of that tournament. Leading up to that, I would say our season's been a little bit up and down, and a lot of that has to do with how many outside competitions our team played this year. Our lineup was always revolving, and that's just how it is when you have players going to the World Amateurs, Augusta Women's National Amateur, Women's Asia, amateur. Tournaments like that pull them out of your lineup for different events, you're going to end up having kind of an up and down season, and that's what we've had. But right now, I like where we're at. I like how we're playing right now, and hopefully we're peaking at the right moment.
Excellent. Thomas, go ahead.
Coach, good morning. Well,
good morning.
Kind of two-part question. You mentioned, all the challenges with the lineups because of everything going on. The 5 girls that played at regionals, is that are you set with them going into the NCAAs? And then the second part is Farah O'Keefe, the freshman from Austin. What's been her biggest development over the course of the season?
Firstly, the lineup will remain the same that we had at regionals, and that's the same lineup that we had at the conference championship. I liked what they did, obviously played well in both, so we're going to stick with that 5. Farah O'Keefe, I would say, is a lot of talent meeting great opportunity here at the University of Texas. When she arrived, she came to us early last year as a freshman, and so she got to spend a semester around the team competing. And I think she quickly realized that her game holds up against some of the best players in the country, which, was some of her teammates last year. And then last summer was phenomenal for her. She got to play in the British Amateur. She played in the U.S. Open, played in the girls' U.S. Junior, where I was able to caddy for her, Canadian Amateur. And then that just segued into the start of her college career this fall. I think it's just it's a lot of talent meeting great opportunity here at the University of Texas, and it's been a beautiful thing. Obviously, she's had a great season, and she's maturing on the golf course as we go. But underneath all of it is a ton of talent. She's a gifted player for sure. And man, the sky's the limit for her.
Thanks, Thomas. Bob?
Hey, Coach. You've been on the cusp of winning this thing. You've gotten your program into position to win a national championship. What do you think it's going to take that step this year?
It's a hard thing, you got to position yourself as many times as you possibly can to simply knock one of them out. I would say the more opportunities you have, the better chance. I would say you got to play well that week, and you might need a little luck on your side. To be honest, it's very difficult to come through the gauntlet of match play. And you're going to ultimately have to knock off 3 great teams to do that. And I'm hoping that, my failures in years past in the match play serve me this year. I've had to put a lot of thought into how we go about our pairings in match play, how we play match play. And, hopefully my mistakes in years past will serve us.
And then just second, how's Bentley doing? And being a senior and a leader in this program for a long time, how is how is she doing mentally right now as she, kind of cheers on her teammates?
Yeah, I think Bentley's fine right now. It's challenging whenever you're a competitor and you've, for the better part of 4 years been in our lineup. When you're shifted to a supportive role, that's not an easy thing, obviously, for a competitive person. But Bentley is a great team person, and she's rooting for her teammates to succeed. And that's the world that we live in competitive athletics, especially at the University of Texas. You're always going to be surrounded by great competitors, great golfers here, great competitors, and we're asked to, vie for championships. And that's kind of front and center with me. That's, I try to keep the main thing. And I like what our five are doing right now, and we're going to go with that.
Noah?
Hey, Coach, you mentioned the youth of the five that you're bringing out to California. Obviously, that might come with some negatives, lack of experience, things like that. But are there positives that you can take from all of these youngsters being the five that you're taking to compete?
Yeah, if you look at each one of them, they've played in big time golf tournaments. Lauren Kim's played in 2 U.S. Opens. Farah's played in the U.S. Open. Cindy Xu is the world amateur champion. Selena Liao has played in U.S. amateurs. She's played in world amateurs. Same with Angela. She's played in the U.S. amateurs. So they've all seen big stages, and they've all been on big stages. And, in Angela's case, last year she played in the national championship, shot 66 on a national championship golf course as a freshman. That's a program record. And clearly she's capable. And Cindy Xu obviously played in our lineup last year, finished top 10 at the national championship. So there's enough experience there for them to feel comfortable on this stage. There's no question.
Chip?
So Ryan, I'm curious, when you say your past mistakes in the match play, what you're referring to? And then, well, I'll start there. I want to follow up.
I don't want to give up anything that I've learned in a painful way, but at our national championship, our pairings process is we alternate our lineup. In other words, I put a name out, they put 2 names out, then I put 2, then they put their last 2, and then that leaves us, it goes back and forth. And there's different philosophies around how you put players out. Do you try to find matchups? Do you try to put your strongest player out first? And I've tried a couple of different things, and we've gotten knocked off in the quarters a few times here. So I've got a different thought for this year. We're going to probably mix it up, and we're going to try something a little bit different.
And what, when you talk about Farah's talent, what maybe something in recruiting or an example of a situation that was highly pressurized where she came through that stands out to you?
Yeah, there's a few moments. Obviously, she won the Texas State High School Championship, so that's obviously a feather in her cap. When she got into the LPGA Tour event in Dallas, that got our attention. And then when she made the cut in that event, she had our full attention, because you can't just stroll in there on the LPGA Tour and make a cut unless you know what you're doing. And so that definitely got our attention. There is a moment where, when I'm recruiting and I'm watching, mechanically, there's certain things that I look for. And Farah O'Keefe mechanically with her wedge play specifically is just right on the money. And I saw it immediately. And it's, when I see that when I'm recruiting, I like that player. And so I saw her hit certain wedge shots here at UT Golf Club. I can't remember the event she was playing in, but I knew immediately I like how this person does this mechanically. And, those are some thoughts that come to my mind. And, when we were recruiting Farah.
And you're hosting at La Costa, Omni La Costa. This, I think, is a fascinating story. John Fields, I know, and you have put in a lot of work with the hope that maybe this is the permanent neutral site location for golf's national championship. Just your thoughts, and obviously Robert Rolling and Omni Hotels and what they've done. Just your thoughts on this vision becoming a reality.
I think it's incredible. Obviously, huge credit to the Rollings, to Mr. Rolling, his family, and everything that they're doing there at Omni La Costa. It will be extraordinary. The golf course, bringing in Gil Hands, which is clearly one of the best designers in the world at the moment. He's done a phenomenal job with the golf course. The renovation of the resort is phenomenal. And, I've played a very minor role in this whole thing. I would say this is more of a vision that John Fields has had for a long time. And there was just multiple parts that came together. And, he obviously talked to Mr. Rolling about it in the beginning, presented the vision for it. And I think there's a very good chance that it does become the site going forward permanently. You can check almost every single box, really every single box for a national championship, from the golf course to the hotel to the weather to TV time slots. It's going to be a phenomenal 2 weeks.
What's the biggest challenge about that course?
I don't know. That's a good question. Nobody really knows yet, because it's a complete redesign. Now the bones, like the routing, is very similar to when the PGA Tour played there, but Gil went in and he moved greens around. He changed all the green complexes. So we really won't know, because nobody's played it until you start hitting balls into those greens and evaluating how those balls hold or don't hold into the greens. We won't know until we see that. And strategically, I think those greens, the firmness of them will dictate quite a bit.
Let's go to Jeff Jones.
Coach, you mentioned the opportunity you had to caddy for Farah. What did you learn about her during that experience that you didn't know ahead of there, if anything?
I think probably how comfortable she is in her own skin, how comfortable she is as a player. She's got an inner confidence for sure. And it was nice to see. It's not, you don't know everything until you're up close for an entire tournament. And when you caddy, you get to see all of it. And at that tournament, I think she ended up playing, I caddied for her 2 practice rounds and then 6 rounds in the tournament. So you get to see the whole gamut of her game. But I think, you can see that confidence when they walk on a putting green and there's, 15, 20 other players. You can kind of see who has confidence and who doesn't. Farah is very comfortable in her own skin, and she's got confidence in herself and her abilities. And I really like seeing that.
Thanks, Jeff. Any other questions? Bob, you got another one?
I do, yeah. Coach Caitlin Papp qualified for the U.S. Open, and I just wanted to get your thoughts on her and what her last 2 years have been like to get back to this point, going through the surgery and getting her game back to where it is now to be able to qualify for a U.S. Open and start putting herself back in contention in terms. Obviously, she played pretty well over the last few weeks too.
She has. She had a nice tournament in Los Angeles. She was paired there with Jin Young Ko that last round, and it was good to see. I mean, that's who she is. How she's playing right now is the player that she is. But unfortunately, sometimes we have injuries in our sport, and it can sideline you for a period of time. But she's come out of it nicely. I expect her just to continue to play at the highest level, and one day she's going to win on the LPGA Tour. I firmly believe that, and it's not a surprise that she's in that U.S. Open. I'm happy that she is, and she's got some tremendous experience in that event. Having played a few of them now, finishing top 10 in Houston, and I guess it was 2020, December of 2020. So I'm excited for where her game's going right now. But yeah, it's injuries are brutal in our sport.
Thanks, Bob. Anything else? I think we are good. Thanks, Murph. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck this week.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Jeremy. Talk to you.
Yep. Let's do this. Awesome. Thomas, you want to start us off?
Farah, good morning.
Morning.
Two-part question. Number one, how good a caddy is your coach? And then, because I understand he caddied for you. And then number two, just how's this first full year been for you? How's your game developed probably the most over these last, 12 months really since you've been here?
Yeah. So Coach Murphy, he caddied for me last summer at the U.S. Girls Junior. And I'd only ever really had my dad on the bag before. And so I hadn't had any previous experience with another caddy, and he was super helpful. I mean, he's really, really good with numbers and picking out landing areas and all that kind of stuff. Which I think that was the summer before my freshman year. And that kind of exposure to the way that he approaches golf, I think prepared me for this year. A lot. It helped a lot because, like I said, he's so good at picking out numbers and landing areas. It's different to how I think other coaches or maybe even other people approach the game. And so being able to see that firsthand with him on the bag right there, like literally in the heat of battle, was super beneficial to starting my freshman year off on the right foot. But over the last year, I think I've just grown a lot as a person and a player. I've matured a ton, I think, in the last year. Moving away from home, it's not that far for me. It's like 20 minutes, but still moving out of the house and being more independent was definitely it's different than being a high school golfer where you have to lean on your parents to sign up for tournaments or get hotels or whatnot. So I think I've grown in that respect, but my game in the last year, I think I've just gotten more experience, and more experience is, it's kind of priceless. It's invaluable. It's when you step onto the first tee and you feel like I've been here before. There's not as much stress that comes with the nerves. You're always going to be nervous, because you want to go and play well and win or whatever. But if you step onto the first tee and you're stressed out and you're worried about, I don't know what's going to happen to this first golf ball that I hit today. That's different than getting on the first tee and being like, hey, it's go time. I got it. I know where I am. I've done this before. So I think that's the biggest way that my game has kind of grown and progressed in the last year.
Thanks, Thomas. Chip, go ahead.
Farah, Murph was talking about your wedge game and just how good it is. So take us through how you developed that. Did you spend all your time practicing the wedge game and truly doing what they say? Don't go just sit on the range, go work your wedges. And I'll start there and then I have a follow-up.
Yeah, so this is actually kind of funny because so my dad was my coach all the way through junior golf. And I didn't, I never really had proper exposure to like professional coaching. And so I didn't actually know that wedges were where you're supposed to spend the majority of your time. I just happened to be kind of, my mechanics were kind of solid. And then I got in I came a semester early to UT, and Murph was talking about it nonstop, wedges, wedges, wedges. And I was like, okay, maybe I need to practice my wedges. And so I ended up kind of reorganizing my practice schedule, where I would spend, closer to probably about 30% of my time working with the shorter clubs in my bag. So like pitching wedge down, maybe closer to 40%. I know I would spend a lot of hours out there a week, just hitting wedges, and having TrackMan right there readily available was huge because you can actually set it up so that you can test yourself and your accuracy with your wedges. So I do that probably like 2, 3 times a week, just to make sure that I'm actually hitting the ball as far as I think I am. And then, I think just in terms of like actual wedge play when you're on the course, because hitting balls on the range or on TrackMan is kind of different than when you get out on the golf course, because you actually have to, think about wind or slope or, where you want the ball to land. It's not always you're just going right at the pin. And so I do a lot of, working with that either on our short course or on the actual big course, whenever we have time.
And how much is camaraderie? When you go into the NCAA, how much is camaraderie among the team important? When you're out there playing individually, people don't see the camaraderie, but tell us how that comes into play.
It's huge. Our girls we're super close. We're a really tight-knit group. We all have handshakes with each other before we go off. We make sure we see each other at least once or twice and, give out our handshakes or whatever. But we're really tight. We have dinner together as a team at least once a week. It might even be 2 times a week. We're always playing games with each other, going out on the course, playing, match play, whatever. Loser has to do push-ups in a bunker or whatever. And I just think it was interesting for me coming in as a freshman because my high school team was super close. And I came in and I didn't know whether or not we were going to be a very, close team. But I came in and immediately I was like, oh my gosh, these girls are like sisters. They're like best friends. And everybody, Lauren's just an amazing person. She's so kind-hearted, and if you need anything, you just call her and you're like, hey, like, can you pick something up from the store for me? I know you're close. And she'll be like, oh yeah, just send me whatever you need, or whatever. Or if the girls go get boba or they go out and get, some sort of treat, they're always texting the group chat, hey, we're going to get boba, you guys want to come? I know Cindy and Selena go out a lot, and like last night they went out for Chinese food and they text us and like, hey, we're going to Bamboo House, do y'all want to come? And I think it's just we're so close, we're like sisters. We try to treat each other with as open minds, as open-hearted as we can, and they're just a great group of people.
Thanks, Chip. Bob, go ahead.
Hey, Farah, kind of along those lines then, how much have you watched the national championships over the last few years? Obviously, Texas continues to make the match play and is making that push to get into the final to win a national championship. How much have you watched it, and how close do you think this program is to taking that next step?
Yeah, I've watched the last couple of years, obviously have Roseng just running away with it, and Stanford, all that kind of stuff. So it's been interesting to watch. And then, I grew up in Austin playing Austin junior golf. So I have friends that are like literally playing in the event. So I would watch that. As for our chances, I mean, I know it's gonna shake out however it's gonna end up, and match play is a completely different animal to stroke play. But I know that our group of girls works really hard, and we're very resilient, and I think that, we've had some good results this year, but every time we come away from a tournament where we were that close, we're kind of like, okay, we're just gonna go keep working. It's gonna come, we just have to be patient. So it might be next week, it might be next year, you never know. We're a super young team, and we're gonna have a lot more chances at, winning a title, but in terms of expectations for next week, I think we're just gonna go treat it like it's any other event, and we've come close so many times this season. Hopefully that can happen again. We're just trying to give ourselves an opportunity to win the event, and it's just gonna come down to that one day of golf, and it can go either way. You never really know. So.
And then you mentioned you're super young. How much have Bentley and Bo been good for y'all? I mean, they've obviously experienced so much in this program over the last 3 or 4 years. And for them to not be playing, but to be rooting you guys on these last couple tournaments, and then obviously the national championship, how beneficial have they been for you guys?
Our upperclassmen are like phenomenal leaders. I've never been on a team before where I actually had an upperclassman take me under their wing. I mean, Bentley is just probably one of the coolest people I've ever met. Like, she has that swagger, she cares about people. Like, I mean, you wouldn't really think like, oh, I'm just a person, and then you meet Bentley and she makes you feel special. And same thing with Bo. I think Bo is she's obviously like a phenomenal golfer, a very accomplished golfer. And she has, little nuggets of advice here and there that can really make a difference. But as upperclassmen, they're really just providing a lot of, I guess, guidance and comfort is the way to say it. Because, without them, I think we'd just be a giant team of freshmen who didn't really know what we were doing. But it's tough because I think, we obviously wanted them to be in the lineup. But things turn out how they turn out, and it's just, I mean, we're excited for next week. I think all of us are, even the upperclassmen who maybe won't be there, but they're gonna be there in spirit, and maybe they'll even come out and watch, hopefully, fingers crossed. We'll see.
Thanks, Bob. Let's go to Jeff.
Hey, Farah, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Coach Murphy told us that what he learned about you when he was caddying for you a few months ago is how confident you are. There's a lot of self-assuredness there. And so I was wondering, is there anything in particular that you do or say or listen to, or anything that goes through your mind to keep yourself so self-assured?
Yeah, I think this goes all the way back to the first LPGA tournament that I played when I was 16. My dad caddied for me, and we had some sort of disagreement about what club to hit, and we'd made that mistake before where I listened to him and I end up hitting the right club with the wrong swing, and it doesn't go well at all. And so I told my dad, I was like, hey, I got this. Like, I got this. And boom, in the conversation, and I executed the shot, and that was that. And my dad still talks about it to this day. He's like, whenever you're behind a shot that maybe you're not so comfortable with or whatever, you can literally say out loud, I got this. And so that's kind of become not the trademark, but it's something that I say to myself a lot in competition when I feel like, when I'm feeling the anxiety or the stress and the nerves and all that kind of stuff, when it's all kind of piling up, I just have to remind myself, like, hey, you know how to play golf, like, you got this. And that's most of the time that's enough to hit a confident shot. But yeah, I think that's, hopefully that answers what you're asking. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely answers the question. And whenever you make the I Got This t-shirts, I'll take 2 of them.
Thanks, Jeff. Chip, you got another one?
Farah, just I don't know how much it resonates with you all that you're hosting at La Costa. And if the vision for Texas, John Fields, to make this the permanent, NCAA golf championship home for college golf. I guess the level of anticipation about playing La Costa, and does it feel like you're hosting? I mean, it's probably a bit odd that way.
Yeah, I definitely think it's been interesting, like, because I came in a semester early, and I keep saying that, but so last year, they prepared really, really precisely and diligently to play Greyhawk. And they talked about, I sat in on all the team meetings. I wasn't playing, but I sat in, and they kept talking about desert golf and Arizona golf and all that kind of stuff. So they were, Coach Murphy and Coach Kate, they were very, very diligent about all the homework they did on that golf course, and they'd seen it before. But this year it's been way different because it feels more like it's almost like an even playing surface, because nobody's seen the golf course before. It's a brand spanking new golf course. Nobody's really even played it. And so it definitely feels different in that respect. I mean, I haven't played, this is my first full season of college golf, so I wouldn't know the big differences, but definitely how we talk about it in team meetings or around the locker room or whatever is different to this time last year. I think we're hosting, and Coach has been, we haven't really talked about it much, but I think he's been very deliberate, I think, in not talking about it that much. Because I don't think we know what to expect in terms of spotlight next week. Because like I said, it's almost like they're starting over from scratch, really, with the national championship. They're kind of leveling it out so that nobody has a clear advantage going into that golf course. But hosting has definitely been a lot of work. I've seen the coaches swamped and work over the last 6 months. So, Coach Fields is a super laid back guy, but you see him every once in a while get a little bit flustered and oh, something's not going to plan. So I think, but overall, I think they've done a phenomenal job, and just really excited to see how things actually look and feel once we get to La Costa. We're leaving tomorrow, so we'll see tomorrow evening.
Good luck.
Thank you.